Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. Episode number 8 of Adapting to Change. I'm here with co-host Nick and co-host Alan, and we are also joined by two very special guests today. We're joined by Andy and Barry today from our K9 unit. Andy, welcome along to the podcast. Thanks for bringing us. So we've got Barry with us this morning. How old is Barry?
Barry's 5 months old.
5 months old. So is he in training at the minute?
He is, because he can't officially start formal training until he's probably about 9-10 months old, because we can't license dogs till they're 12 months old minimum.
Really?
But all this is training because of the environmentals and socialisation and getting the dog up to speed, so that when we actually start working him, nothing's going to faze him. As you've seen out in the corridor, he's into everything.
Yeah.
If you don't do that as babies, when you take them onto a live job and introduce them to a strange environment, they could just fold and not work.
Yeah.
So this is probably the most important training, as opposed to putting him on odor and searching for explosives or drugs or bed bugs or whatever you're going to do with him.
Bed bugs? Is that like a big requirement now?
Yes.
I've seen it on the news for a few months and stuff, but wow, didn't realise that.
I'll never sleep in another hotel.
That bad? Oh, don't tell me how.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that.
Yeah, scary. I'll sleep in my van.
Maybe
with the
those
dogs.
bed answers come from.
Sleep with the dogs. So how long have you been with Adept for?
Probably 2-3 years now.
It is, yeah.
Was that a previous connection from when did you guys work together at G4S?
Yeah. So Andy was part of the incident response team. We on the Manchester City Council contract. We G4S.
Okay, cool. Is it always been like dog handling that you've been in, or were you like traditional security beforehand and moved into it? Or
I did a short time, really, in security, because the way I got into dog handling was pretty much blackmailing Alan. He wanted me to do something, and I said, yes, I will do it, but I want this.
Well, explain what that was.
What, on there?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Basically, G4S in Manchester had got the contract for Media City.
all right, okay.
And they was going through the phased handover from Bovis Build to Media City, and I think you wanted a supervisor to go in and manage the move over from the builders security to G4S security.
Oh, okay.
Now initially I was asked to go there for 2 weeks. I ended up doing 7 months there.
Always the way.
And after the first couple of weeks, when I was asked if I'd stay, I said I will. However, when I returned to the incident response, I'd like to join the dog section.
Okay.
And that's where we went from there. So I got into the dogs. Did 7 months at Media City, and fair play. The day that I left Media City, I was at Great Manchester Police picking up my dog.
Really?
Yeah.
So that's a nice little segue. So when was that? How long have you been in?
That's
working
probably
as a
going back to
handler?
about 2009, when I first picked up Bear, Black German Shepherd from Great Manchester Police, to start training.
Well, as a puppy.
No, he was 18 months Bear.
Oh, okay.
He was in their kennels. They didn't have a role for him because they had enough dogs and handlers and everything else, so he was not doing a great deal in the kennels. I think we were training with Great Manchester Police then as a dog section, incident response, and I got Bear and then did the 12-week course.
Did you have your own dogs before then?
No, I'd never been a dog handler. I'd had one pet in my whole life, but it's something, I'd never have a pet. I always said I'd never had a dog where I'd have to leave it at home on its own because it's not fair on the dog.
Yeah.
So it just didn't happen. And I thought, well, dog handling's a perfect opportunity.
So it's a big jump though. I always thought naturally you'd have someone who has dogs at home who then decides, oh, I really enjoy this, I need to train to be a dog handler. But you've sort of gone 2 feet. I don't have a dog at home, but I'm winning 2 feet. I want to be a dog handler.
With a big dog that's going to bite people.
Yeah.
And I think because of your background with incident response, he was working with dogs all the time on the parks, and so we had an in-situ dog team. So he was able to be part of that training and experience to it. So
Yeah, I got to see what was going on with the dogs there, and I thought, I'd like to have a crack at that.
I'm guessing, because I don't know that much about the sort of canine handling side of things for security. What's involved for you to become like licensed to do it?
In the private sector, it's like with little Barry now. When he gets to probably 8 months old, I'll take him to the training that I go to in Liverpool. who's licensed to hold live substances, as in drugs or explosives and stuff like that.
As part of training?
As part of training. It's normally just trace them out so that the dog gets the right scent. We'll go in there. He will assess the dog first for suitability to make sure that we're not barking up the wrong tree. And then it all starts with a ball.
Right, okay.
Finding a tennis ball, which then is using his nose. You start with the eyes first, because as a puppy, you throw a ball. If he doesn't know where it's gone, he's using his eyes and he'll not find it. You've got to then train the dog to start using its nose. And you do that with a tennis ball, because on most tennis balls, you'll have all different types of dog saliva on it, you'll have human scent on it, and then they'll very quickly pick up, oh, I recognise that scent, that's my dad.
Yeah.
And then start doing that, and then you add, it's like little Barry is quite possibly going to be an explosive detection dog.
Do you pick up on like any cues as to what the dog might be better suited for training for as they're growing up, or do you just like make a decision of, right, Barry's going to do expo?
A lot of the time I get a dog in because of what skill that I need at that time. Barry's an extra dog, so I'm possibly going to go down the explosive route with him, but I'm not sure yet. But he's a spare dog, because I've already got 2 explosive detection dogs and I've already got 2 drugs dogs.
So is that all the dogs you've got? So you've got 5?
I've got a German Shepherd as well,
Oh.
care of the Incident Response Services. He retired and I kept him. He's in the van now. And then little Barry came in January, totally unplanned, and now I've got to work out what I'm going to do with him, and it's probably going to be explosives. So then the way the trainer that I go to is an old school. He'll put explosives inside the tennis ball, and then he'll hide the tennis ball. The dog will find it, so every time the dog retrieves the tennis ball, he gets a whiff of the odour.
Getting that scent.
And with dogs, it's repeat, like some human beings, you've got to repeat it 50 times for it to sink in.
Yeah, we do that with Alan.
Yeah,
It's not with a tennis ball.
and then eventually, the tennis ball disappears and it's just the odour. And then you get a specific reaction with the dog. Oh, I recognise that. And then the ball goes in. So then he starts linking the scent smell with the reward. And then you start working on the indication where he'll stay at the source. And then once you've done that, and he's scent sure on all the different substances, because with explosives there's between 8 and 10 different substances that he's got to be scent sure on. You then start working on all your search patterns for searching buildings, open areas, route searches, vehicles and everything else. And once he's done all of that, for an explosive detection dog, he's then got to go through scent identification tests, where he's got to do 7 different substances, and they line a load of pots up against the wall with distractions in, like dog food and rubber gloves and all sorts of stuff, but only one pot has substance in, and he has to go down every single pot and identify it, and one miss is a fail.
Really?
With explosives, yes, because it's on a live job, that one miss could be devastating.
Catastrophic, yeah. How long does the training process take? I'm guessing every dog's different, and it takes on how quickly the dog picks up the cues in the training. But generally, how long would it take to?
I mean, when I first started with the explosives work, I did the police course, and that was 8 weeks long, constant, 5 days a week, all day for 8 weeks.
Okay. What happens if a dog fails? What happens with the dog?
We go for a walk with a shovel and a bowl of kibble into the woods.
We just took a very dark twist then.
No,
I guess he's rehomed.
If they get rehomed,
Yeah.
they get. I don't know, but did you ever meet Colin, the little chocolate cocker? I got him 2 years ago to be an explosive search dog, and he just didn't have the focus. He could find the kit, he had the ball drive, but as soon as he'd found the kit, he wouldn't stay at the source, which you needed the dog to do, so you can mark it.
Yeah.
It's there. He'd find it, go, yeah, it's there, but I'm more interested with, oh, there's another dog peed over there, or, oh, that grass looks tasty.
How many fail, like, any idea percentage-wise?
I don't, because I only see a very small picture of the people who go to the trainer that I go to. But Colin failed, and he's now living with a homicide policeman and his family as a pet.
Oh, that's nice. So what would you say the most rewarding part of the job is for you as a handler and a trainer as well? and how that differs from like normal security. Because obviously you've seen both sides of the coin with that.
Yeah, I completely love the job. Every day's different. It's not like I'm turning up to work with my packed lunch, sitting on a gate, checking passes, and it's the same day in, day out. It's the same faces. Every day's different with this job, and I find it so rewarding when you're doing things. And even now, I get a buzz when a dog finds something. You know, with the drugs dogs, and we're out
Yeah, I can imagine.
doing the job, and you think, how amazing is that nose to be able to find that in this environment? And it's like I say, every day's different. Not one day is the same.
So what happens with the? Obviously, you've got a number of dogs. So I'm guessing you'll maybe get a call from a particular client to go and do, if there's an expo requirement. What happens with the other dogs? Do they go with you in your unit?
Yeah, I've got the van set up, and it's all set up in line with British standards and Animal Welfare Act, and transportation of animals with all cages the right sizes, with escape hatches and air conditioning fans. The five what are in the van now in the car park are sat listening to Radio 2.
Soothing
And
tones.
they're quite happy.
Is that the preferred channel?
Yes.
Yeah.
They seem to be more settled in the van than they are when they're at home.
That was going to actually be my next question of what kind of things do you need in order to kind of safely and legally be a handler? So in terms of like your transportation, your logistics, for both when you're on the road and when you're at home. 'Cause I'm guessing the dogs obviously live with you at your home.
Yeah, because it's a private sector, it's entirely up to you. I know some handlers have the dogs in the house with them. I don't. I have them kennelled. I've got a big garden. I've got a kennel block in the garden, and that's where the dogs live. Because I think it's been proven that if you have the dogs in the house, you create a bigger bond with the dog.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, certainly with the explosive search dogs, you have to send them away from you to search. Because I can't go where the dog hasn't been.
Mm-hmm.
So if you've got a long corridor, it's got to go all the way down to the corridor and then come back to search it to make sure it's safe for me to travel down there. If you've got a massive bond, that dog is going to be looking for you and sometimes won't go away from you because it's, Dad, where's my dad? I want him to be focused on what I want him to do. So yes, I have a bond with my dogs, but it's not a pet dog bond. And if I'm round them in the house with them 24 hours a day, it's creating too strong a bond with the dog.
Well, it's distracting from the work.
The dog becomes too reliant on me when we get out to work, when I want that dog to be free running.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I'm sure you've heard loads of stories and stuff within the industry. Have there ever been any, you don't have to name names or incidents or anything like that, but have you ever heard of incidents where, like, because of that bond and the style of training, where stuff has gone wrong on jobs or stuff's been missed? Or
I wouldn't say stuff's been missed, but I know on occasion dogs have had to be pulled off jobs because the dog's just not
focused.
Not focused, and a lot of that comes down to the environmental training, which we said earlier on, and the socialisation. You take a dog to a new venue, which he's never been in, and it could freak the dog out because he's like, I'm not used to this.
Yeah.
You know, you can institutionalise dogs as well to set environments where they're comfortable in that environment and they look fantastic in training, and then take him to a different environment and the dog goes,
Panics.
I don't know what you're asking me to do, Dad. I don't like this.
Is it regulated? So, like, by that I mean, we're regulated by the SAA and the ACS, and we have to go through audits, and we have to be able to demonstrate various bits of paperwork and checks and checks and balances and things like that. Is there a similar thing with canine handling?
There is and there isn't. There's no legislation out there what says that I have to have any sort of qualification to be a dog handler. So hypothetically, I could tip up to a dog kennels, walk out with a German Shepherd and go out and do a general purpose dog shift. However, we are evolving and it is getting better, and a lot of the clients are understanding that dogs need to be qualified and getting the right targets, and there's a couple of different organisations. I have to have an SIA licence like every other security officer because I'm working alongside security teams with the drugs dogs and the explore dogs, so I've got to be SIA door licence trained.
But I'm guessing there's training accreditation and things like that you can go and source yourself to say that I'm a serious handler. These are
Yes.
These are the
The
checks.
two organisations, we've got NTIPDU and NASDU, which are the two organisations which run courses. And I work under NASDU, and because their qualifications are it's a lot of ex-police officers and a lot of ex-military dog handlers are in running NASDU. So all the courses and everything else very much is in line with what the police do as well. You can see that by the way it's set up, the courses are modulated and everything else. You've got to go through strict, we don't call it licensing like the police, we call it certification, where I have to go through, every year I've got to go through annual tests with each dog to get re-licensed every single year or recertified every single year. And also to gain that certification, I've got to go training every single month with each dog and get a training record every month, so that when I turn up for my annual certification, I've got to produce 11 records before I'll even get to an assessment.
It's a massive commitment then. A lot of time and effort.
A lot of time and effort, yeah.
I mean, I'm staggered that I could literally go out tomorrow, get a dog, and come to a company like, whoever, Adept, G4S, Securitas, whatever, and say, I'm a qualified dog handler, give me some work. And then I'm out with an untrained dog. It
does happen. It does happen. But more on the general purpose side of it, because when we start getting into the specialist side of it with drugs work and explosives work, the big companies out there, what I work for, like Adept, G4S, H&A, and all those different companies, they won't take a dog handler without all this records and certification. A lot of the clients out there now are starting to understand that the dog's got to be qualified, so they actually ask, some clients I work for say, are you qualified by NASDU, and are you in certification? So it's getting out there and it's getting better.
I think the problem is there's still companies out there who don't really care.
Yeah.
I mean, those WhatsApp groups we spoke about in a previous episode.
Yeah, very similar.
We've seen on there requests for dog handlers for £9-10 an hour. So I think any dog handler worth the salt isn't going to rock up to that. But people are doing out there.
Yeah. So
there'll be people, like you said, just getting a dog, sending him a handler, and then rocking up and getting paid below the minimum wage.
But I've seen advertisements on social media. Dog handler required for tonight, 12-hour shift, vehicle and dog provided if required. Hey?
So
someone's going to turn up and get a vehicle and a dog?
Yeah.
I know going back years ago, I mean, on touched upon there, we used to train the dogs, initially Greater Manchester Police, at their training headquarters, Hough End.
Yes, Hough End, yeah.
And then we changed out, it was Sheffield, I can't remember what it was called.
Niagara.
Yeah. So that was under the Act 4 training regulations, wasn't it? So that's like the like police in-house standard.
But that was a requirement for the council, wasn't it?
Absolutely at the time, yeah. And at that point in time, so I was on the steering group for under ACPO, the Association of Police Inspectors. I can't remember what the accreditation was, but it was the police accreditation for their dog handlers, and they were looking at professionalising the private security. That was probably over 10, 12 years ago. And we're still not in that position now. Now, I know the SIA are starting to talk about it, and including dog training, canine section within the licensing. Well, when that happens, I don't know. But
the detection side is changing because they're starting to bring in, it's going to take a long time to become compulsory, but they've just started, it's called NACTAS-P, which means for me to be, and it's only explosive detection dogs at the moment, they're trying to bring the explosive detection world at the same level, police, forces and private sector, all up to the same level.
It.
So, I'll be applying for my NACTAS-P accreditation later on in the year, where I have to go to a police force and have my dog assessed by a police force dog section to get signed off to say my dog's at a very good standard to work. I mean, my dogs are, don't get me wrong, under NASDU, but they're bringing this new regulation in, NACTAS-P, for explosive detection dogs, which will bring it up to the level
Excellent.
of the police force. So you could actually, if there's a high risk threat somewhere, potentially they could call me in as a NACTAS P handler, where they wouldn't in the past because they'd call the police in.
Yeah.
But my dogs would then be deemed.
Will that supersede some of the training you already do, or will you do everything as
I'll
well?
still have to do all of that, and I'll still have to then go train with the police and do annual certification under NACTAS P. And then when that rolls out to everybody, and it's going to take a long, long time with the amount of handlers and time involved in it, there is talk, whether it's right or not, that it's going to roll out into the drugs and GP side of it.
Right.
What's G?
General purpose.
General purpose.
Protection dogs in the say GP dogs. The police call their dogs general purpose dogs because they do a number of different disciplines. In the private sector, you're a security officer with a dog, and it's a protection dog. The dog's only there to protect you. We don't send it off chasing criminals, and we don't do tracking of criminals. He's there to protect you.
That's interesting. So they're about, did you say 9 to 12 months when you can start training them?
On order and formal training. Everything else before that, which I think the first 9 months is the most important, because if your dog's not right before you go to the course, it might do fantastically in a training sterile environment, but then out in the real world, it not happen. I've seen it, especially with passive drugs dogs, where you're working in big crowds, lots of noises, lots of music, lots of lights and things like that. You could qualify with a dog and it never been exposed to that. And then you take it out and it just goes, not having this.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
And I've seen that happen.
What's the general sort of working lifespan of a working dog?
Again,
does it depend?
Again, in the private sector, you're pretty much left to your own devices. I pretty much use 7 years as a rule, that when the dog hits 7. But a good handler will see the start of the decline in the dog's, not ability to find the drugs and things like that, but his physical ability. It starts getting tired quicker. It's not as keen and bouncy on the post, and that. And you think, I need to start looking for a replacement, because I can see he's reached the top and we're starting to go down the hill now. But I've seen dogs out there what are 10, 12 years old and should have been retired a long time before. And sometimes it's about money, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Again, that's really interesting that there's nothing regulating that.
I suppose it's like anything, isn't it? I mean, there should be a cut-off point, but ultimately it depends on the dog itself. You know, whether it's capable of carrying on for a little bit longer. I mean, what about this story with Roscoe? I mean, Roscoe's was one of your sort of long-serving dogs, very, very, very famous on social media.
Yeah. I mean, I've got 2 drugs dogs in the van now, and they are new drugs dogs. My first one was Harry with G4S and instant response, Black Labrador. But Roscoe, the last one, because a lot of my work now is with 3 different police forces, because they don't have a passive drugs dogs capability anymore, or a lot of forces don't. So most of my weeks is spent out with the police. And Roscoe was a particularly good dog.
Yeah.
He was on point. He just got to 7 years old. Now I could see the decline, because the police jobs, I'm walking around all the time, so the dog's putting a lot of mileage in. And big dogs are susceptible to different kinds of illness. So I saw the decline. I thought I've got to start replacing him. I could have continued using him for another 18 months, 2 years, and just using him at stadiums and things like that, where I'm stood still and people are walking past me. But I got two dogs, Reggie and Elsa, qualified. But because I still had Roscoe, I kept falling back onto the old faithful, and the new dogs weren't getting the operational experience they needed. Cut off and said, right, sounds harsh, but Roscoe's got to go, because while I've got him, the other 2 aren't going to get up to speed. I'm holding them back because I keep defaulting back to Roscoe. So Roscoe went off again to a Humberside police officer as a pet, and I've started bringing the dogs on. And Elsa, who's a little cockador, she's actually flying now. She's got a long way to go to be Roscoe standard, but she's good.
Do you find certain breeds are suited more to certain things? Because you kind of traditionally associate like Labradors or Spaniels with maybe drug detection or expo, things like that. Have you found that, or is it just how you train the dogs?
My favourite saying: floppy ears for detection, pointy ears for protection.
Right.
We are not allowed, NASDU or NTIPDU or any civilian organisation will not certify a pointy-eared dog, and by that I mean Belgian Malinois, German Shepherds, Dutch Herders, the traditional protection dogs. They will not license them for detection work, even though they're quite capable.
So floppy detection, pointy protection.
Yes.
I remember that. I sound like I know what I'm on about now.
So we'll put it on tenders.
First of everything, isn't there?
Yeah.
How
Around.
have you found? I'm guessing you maybe if you send a retired dog to go be someone's pet, I'm guessing you keep in touch with them.
Absolutely, yeah.
How have you found that the dogs have transitioned into retirement from that constant working? Do they struggle, or do they like?
We were talking about this the other way, weren't we?
I had a particularly unfriendly spaniel who was an explosive search dog. He's Wilson, absolutely lovable dog. You know, he lived out in kennels at home. He had a serious attitude, and I rehomed him in January. At the end of January, when Alan, my new explosive detection dog, got qualified, and I obviously rehomed him to a family. I knew that he had to go to an elderly family with no children or grown-up children and no other pets, because the dog needed to be centre of attention, else things were going to happen. So it's like in the vehicle. He was very aggressive in the vehicle, in the van and things like that. So I flagged all this up to the family, and they were still quite happy to take him. And I kid you not, he has gone into pet life like he's been a pet all his life.
Life of luxury.
Absolutely. The grandkids come round and they're playing with him. It only took 3 days of him being in their house to be sleeping in bed with them. I said, how's he getting on in vehicles? Oh, fantastic. He just sits on the back seat looking out the windows. So there's never been a problem with that kind of...
It'd be like when a footballer retires and they just get comfortable, put loads of weight on, eat loads.
Sammy and Nasri, have you seen signs of that recently?
Yeah, I've seen the video.
I was shocked how Wilson adapted to being a pet, but he's getting so much attention now, which he wanted. When you've got as many dogs as that I've got to cover all the different angles of drugs, passive drugs, because you've got two different types of drugs dogs. You've got proactive and passive.
What's the difference?
Passive is air scenting around people, like at stadiums, on gates, and proactive is searching buildings, cars, open areas, and things like that. When you've got a lot of dogs, you give the dogs attention, but some dogs want more.
Yeah.
They need more, like little Barry. you know, and because I could see it, I could see Wilson crave more attention than that I could give him. And if I was in the garden and he came for a fuss, and one of the other dogs, as they do, come in for a fuss as well, he got quite aggressive towards the other dog. It's like, so I was a bit concerned when he went for a pet, but he's fitted in like nobody's business.
Have you ever had any incidents like on sites where any of your dogs have like turned and attacked people? 'Cause you see all these stories on like the news, don't you, where I know you don't have XL bullies, but like dogs attacking people and...
The only time, and it's only happened two in my whole career in 15 years, that my dog's ever bitten from, it was in the line of duty.
Oh, okay. So it was apprehending.
No, well, protecting me.
Because I'm guessing there's all sorts of horror stories out there about unqualified handlers.
It doesn't matter how highly trained your dog is. Every dog, if you put it into the right situation, has the ability to bite.
Yeah.
It's a wild animal, isn't it?
It depends what situations you're putting the dog in and how uncomfortable that dog is going to get, where he deems that he may have to protect himself. So every dog's, even my German Shepherd Achilles, he's the biggest, softest lump you'll ever meet in your life. But when he needed to, he protected me. And if you've got a bond with a dog, and it doesn't matter what breed of dog you've got, when you've got that bond with that dog will protect you.
It's what they're there for, really, isn't it? So.
Yeah.
So what sort of events have you covered?
Obviously I do, with Adept we do hospitals, I do a lot. I work for 3 different police forces, doing passive work. Football matches is a big thing through the football season. I've done quite a number of Premier League clubs, some Championship clubs.
We're not Championship yet.
We'll be soon.
Andy does Burnley, that's a little dig at me, but you never know.
You'll be doing Championship again next
Yeah,
year.
next year. Yeah. I'm doing Championship at the moment, but there's a good chance they'll get promoted. So I'll keep.
Who's that? Leeds.
Leeds. So I'll keep my hand in with the Championship when Burnley go down.
Yeah, at least you'll be in both leagues still.
Yeah.
What type of thing are you looking for at hospitals? What type
Drugs.
of drug? Nothing. Okay. Or people bringing them out
Taking them in.
and taking them in as well.
It's not.
But primarily taking them in. So
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting.
It's all kinds, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Do you guys have any more questions for Andy? Or got him?
No, I was going to get him to mention the events you've mentioned.
The big ones I do every year is Silverstone, the Formula 1 and the MotoGP.
Oh, okay.
I go down there, in July, I go down there for 9 days for the Formula 1. And it's purely explosive detection work down there, and then I do the motorbikes as well in August for the MotoGP.
Very good.
You were Burnley this Saturday?
No, I'm at Leeds.
Are you at Leeds on Saturday? Bigger crowd over there, isn't it?
Yeah. Bigger club.
Tell you what.
You won't be into that one.
But you have to let me know next time you're on. I'm a season ticket holder. I'll come and say hello.
Yeah, no problem.
Cool. Alan, anything further for yourself?
No, I think we've covered more or less everything, don't we? So it's,
No. Well, listen, Andy, thank you so much for coming in, and thanks for bringing little Barry in as well. It's been an absolute treat. So we'll wrap up
Barry,
there.
smile to the camera.
I was going to bring Achilles in, but Alan turned white.
Which one's Achilles?
The German Shepherd.
We'll go out.
The snappy bitey one.
The snappy bite one.
No,
I'll have to go.
not really.
I'll have to go and say
Say hello
to
from a
him.
distance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, brilliant. Thank you very much for coming in
No problem.
and
It's my pleasure.
taking some time to talk to us and
Thank you.
to educate us on that. And we will see you again next time.